All right. So if you are looking at buying or selling in the Columbia Gorge anytime soon, then this video is made for you. I'm Brett Stomps. I'm with Windermere Real Estate. Let's jump right to it. This is my top 10 next small town to grow in the Columbia Gorge video. This idea is spawned by the comments and questions that I've been getting lately with respect to affordability and where should I put my money and things like that. So let's do it. Boom. Number 10, Hewsum and BZ Corner. So I got a map here. Basically, in relation to white salmon, it's about 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes to the north towards Mount Adams. They got rafting. That's a big sport out there. You got berry picking, mushroom picking. Here's BZ Corner. I kind of clumped these two together. I know the locals watching are like, oh, dude, BZ Corner is not the same as Hewsum. But for the sake of this video, that valley there is definitely on the growth zone of the Columbia Gorge. And by the way, I'm not talking about places like Stevenson and Hood River and Mosier and the Dalles and White Salmon. Like those areas are far, like the ship sailed. They're not really out there growing anymore. But BZ Hewsum, I am seeing some uptick, but that's why it's number 10. So here's Hewsum Valley, very pretty. That's Mount Hood in the background. Took this from a drone, extremely high up in the air. And here's another shot from the Hewsum Valley looking towards Mount Adams. Okay, number 9, Parkdale. Now, Parkdale's number 9 because most people have heard of Parkdale. Most people know that it's a cute place to be. Um, that being said, Parkdale's on this list because it is super beautiful, it's super tiny, and a lot of people love that charm for small town vibes. You're about only, I'll pull up the map. You're only about 20, 25 minutes or less to get to Hood River. And I base everything, by the way, like right at the Hood River Bridge. Like that's the epicenter, right? Like everyone wants to know how long is it going to take to get to the bridge. But on the flip side, you're also, 30 minutes or less to get to skiing on Mount Hood Meadows, things like that. So here's a couple photos downtown. It's really charming, really small. A couple of residences here with the huge view of Mount Hood. I mean, that's a huge attraction point to why people like to be in Parkdale. Here's a really low resolution image of the Parkdale lava flow, which is what I really find fascinating. And yeah, you can't see that necessarily from Parkdale, but it is nearby. Another awesome photo of a barn. Great. Number 8, Goldendale, the land of opportunity out here in Klickitat County. Goldendale is an area that is seeing a lot more growth. Prices as of the time of this video haven't been growing too much, but that being said, Goldendale is a little bit further away. It is just a much bigger town than places like White Salmon. It's bigger town than places like Lisle, Mosier, Klickitat, Appleton, Cascade Locks. I mean, it's a pretty big infrastructure. They have a big infrastructure out there. And so it's worth noting because you got great land values. You have a lot of opportunity for land out there. They have a ton of land for sale. And it is growing because those land and home opportunities at the affordability that they're at, it is attracting people from areas around the Columbia Gorge. Here's a photo I took of Mount Adams in the fall, another one towards the winter. Here's a low resolution image of another listing I had. Very treed out there, oftentimes kind of rocky. Here's a photo of a house that we had for sale, Mount Adams in the background, nice flat kind of prairie-like landscape. Here's a house site, big view of Mount Adams again. A lot of people have views of Mount Adams. So here's a Goldendale Observatory. This is a popular spot that people should go take a look at, and downtown with their car show. Okay, number 7, Murdoch. Murdoch is stuck right here between Lisle and Dallasport, and Murdoch is what I believe one of the, it is on the list, and here's why. There's, for one, not a lot of images on Google Maps, so I can't steal too many. But here's a little bit of an example, right? Got the nice wide open view of the Columbia River. Here's a painting someone did. This is like what Murdoch looks like, is that nice westerly view down the Columbia River, and everybody loves the views from Murdoch. So on the other side of the highway, there are more affordable homes like this one that sold for under $300,000. It's a 2000 plus manufactured home. I apologize for the quality of the image, but it had a Mount Hood view. And again, going back a couple pages, it is super close to the Dalles. It's also super close to Lisle. So whether you're into wind sports or being closer to white salmon, I mean, you're really only about 20 minutes or so from white salmon. That's not bad. And you're also only about 10 minutes from the Dalles. Not bad at all. Okay, number 6, Klickitat. Klickitat's over here in the Klickitat Valley, just kind of northeast of Lisle. And essentially on here, it is a little bit further out than, say, Murdoch is from white salmon. Again, sort of the epicenter of everything at the Hood River Bridge over here. But what you should know about Klickitat is there's a ton of recreational activity out there. Not only can you hear the water nearly everywhere you go, but it's really serene. It's beautiful out there. The drive in, it's a well-maintained road. The cottages are really tiny and affordable, though there are bigger, more expansive homes and newer homes too out in the Klickitat Valley. So if you like fishing, if you like floating, if you just like boating, if you like hunting, and if you like not having cell service all the time, Klickitat is an awesome place to just have a really quiet community life. It is worth noting they have a small grocery store and a restaurant. Cool. Here's a little sign. Here's what the town of Klickitat looks like. Main street coming through. They've got their school, the old mill site, right? Got the museum here, another park, lots of water access through the whole town. It's just so darn cute. And all the houses are kind of similar because they were all mill houses, or most of them were. More photos of the Klickitat Valley. Little house cottage, for example. And by the way, they have a ton of history, written history. There was actually a railroad that went from Lisle all the way up to Goldendale through the Klickitat Valley. Number 5, Appleton. Appleton is about the same distance as Klickitat, kind of in that 40-minute mark down to the Hood River Bridge. And, up here, it's a little higher elevation than Klickitat. And you sometimes get views of Mount Adams, not so much of Mount Hood. It's really hard to find that. But that being said, a lot of trees. There's really not a whole lot there's no restaurants. There's a post office. Here's the 4 corners that the locals know. It's 4 corners that intersect. It's sort of the middle of Appleton. A couple photos here of basically surrounding areas. A couple photos I took here of a farm. Here's the post office and the old log hall. So there's also a lot of fun history in this area. This log hall, I think, is like 1860s, and a lot of it's fallen in on itself, but I included it here because it is one of the more historic landmarks in the area. Here's some dirt road photos. This feels a lot like Appleton, right? It's a logging community up there, just as it was when it first started. And what people like about Appleton, just to kind of get after it a little bit more, is that it's affordable. You can find houses out there around under 400 and less on 5 acres, sometimes with a view like this, and they're not like in super bad condition. You might have to do a little bit of work to them still because they might be outdated. But all that being said, if you wanted to be in a location that you could then get to white salmon or that Hood River Bridge, I mean, you're only 40 minutes away, and it's not like there's a lot of traffic. The roads are easy to drive. There you go. Number 4, High Prairie. I love High Prairie. This little marker here is not quite accurate because this is what Google Maps did, but it is a little bit more down here to the south, just to the north of this Stacker Butte here. And you'd go from Lisle and you drive up Centerville Highway, probably about 10 minutes until you really start getting into High Prairie. And it goes all the way back here to the right where the Swale Canyon is. And this is kind of the framework. This high plateau is considered High Prairie. And High Prairie has a ton of big baller views of Mount Hood. And it's not quite Goldendale, and it's also not quite White Salmon. High Prairie is kind of locked in its own little space here. And what I really love about it is during the springtime, you get a lot of this green fields. It's super, super pretty. Just huge sunsets, lots of mountain flowers. I mean, like a lot of mountain flowers. People don't like quite get it. Like they underestimate how many wildflowers are out here. I took this photo. I've taken a lot of these photos actually. This is just to give you an example of what it looks like. And here's another photo I took from a listing I had, just Adam's view, right? Just nicely perched up there on top of the hill. Another one I took on sort of a more hazy day, but you can see here, I mean, like you can you can see down to Mosier. And sort of over here to Mount Defiance, this little thing up here, like nice. Number 3, Carson. So right away, a lot of these places are in Washington. I'm going to get to that more in a second. But Carson here is on this. It's really close to White Salmon, Bingen, and Hood River. And this is why it is number 3. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's a lot of stick-built homes there. They're not in like a huge, they're like a quarter acre, which is pretty big. It's a lot better than a city postage stamp, I guess. And sometimes they get up to half an acre, 1 acre and more. Carson has, restaurants, a cafe, gas stations. They have a golf course. They have a hot springs. They've got rivers nearby. It's a little bit greener as it goes towards the west, but Carson is a place that has its full infrastructure intact and also that small rural feeling. And so we saw Carson really explode its first burst of growth during COVID when people wanted to buy homes that were stick built versus manufactured, but also be sticking around that $300,000 mark. Homes are starting to push up to the high threes right now, but comparatively to be, 15 minutes from White Salmon, this is a good place to be. Here's kind of the 4 corners again. Here's the golf course. Here's the hot springs. There's not a lot of photos in Carson, so I can't scrape too many from the internet. Okay, number 2, Dallasport. Dallasport right here, right? We got the outline. It's basically close to Murdoch, right? Like it is different in my opinion as a real estate agent, but also as a local. But Dallasport itself is really close to the Dalles. It's still close to White Salmon and the Hood River Bridge. We're talking 22 minutes, if that, to get home to, where I live in White Salmon, that is, to get back and forth. And dude, you're only like 10 minutes from the Dalles still, if not less, just because you have to go around to the bridge. And what people like about Dallasport is, again, larger lot sizes, newer homes. The terrain's very flat. It's easy to work with. They've got an airport. Here, I got the aerial. And in some cases, it's just really quite spread out. And there's a lot more room to grow. And in some of these places, like they've got cool views here of the Dalles environment. It's awesome, right? And you're close to the river. It's just a very safe place to be. Here's another photo of the airport. Most of the photos on the internet are of the airport of Dallasport. Anyways, number 1, you guys probably knew this, Lyle, right? Lyle is super close to White Salmon and the Hood River Bridge and Hood River, close to Bingen, of course. And it's just epically beautiful out there. When you get sort of past the Mosier region, the Columbia Gorge remains the Columbia Gorge, like in its feel of the mountains, but it just kind of spreads out a little bit, giving you these huge wide open views of the Columbia River Gorge. So here's a photo of Lyle from atop of Tom McCall viewpoint. And you can see here, I mean, there's a lot of space here where people can build on the hillside. In some areas, it's a little steeper than what it really looks, but we've got the Klickitat River, the confluence just flowing out here. People love to fish this. They love to kite surf this, windsurf this. There's an epic swing underneath that bridge. I mean, you can get your boat out here really easily. And you know what? Again, you're super close to places like White Salmon, like Hood River. You're not too far away from getting to the mountain if you want to ski. If you want to go up and do some hiking or hunting, like you're near all of this stuff. And, we're starting to see some more restaurants in Lisle, and their school's great. The people there are super great. And it is the next place. As I'm working more and more with people who are talking about affordability and places that they want to buy, Lisle comes up the most. And it's not just necessarily my own opinion. There's definitely what I'm seeing in the marketplace being stuffed into here. But you know what? Lisle definitely takes the top position here. So here's a couple more photos of just the beautiful terrain. Here's the Tom McCall viewpoint of where the last photo was essentially taken, way up here. It's just stunning. It has its sort of geographical position locked in. A lot of these larger pieces of land are either privately owned or not buildable just because they're in the scenic area and they can't get any smaller via division. So, you got to get your spot in Lisle while you can. Here's a couple photos of just what the terrain looks like, what I mean when it opens up. And then if you find your own little oasis there, you see you get in your oak grove forest. And here's an old photo too. Lisle has a lot of history, and you can see this is where the last photo was, is kind of up in here, up on the hill. Um, it's amazing. I mean, look at how much Lisle, has grown since, right? And I know it's not like a Los Angeles or anything like that, or Portland, Oregon, but in all things considered, Lisle is still a small town, but in comparison to the Columbia Gorge and its own ecosystem here, Lisle's been seeing a lot of growth lately. So, you know what? If you have any questions, though, shoot me a call, shoot me a text, shoot me an email. I'm here to help you guys. I just felt like I'd make this video to help you learn more about where you want to invest in the Columbia Gorge. Maybe you want to sell a house that you have in one of these areas that's growing, and overall help you plan your future here in the Columbia Gorge. So that's it, you guys. I hope you enjoy this free content. I'm hoping to make some more. Let me know your feedback and just reach out if you have questions. Let's keep the conversation rolling. Thanks.